This is a version of USC CARTE Labs and TLT's Tactical Language Training System, developed with funding from DARPA's DARWARS project. It is designed to teach basic tactical versions of language and culture that are needed by deployed military personnel, and to do so in a game-like setting using voice recognition. This version of TLTS incorporates an etiquette module constructed by Smart Information Flow Technologies and designed to reason about the various effects of politeness in cross-cultural interactions. In this mission, the trainee, Sergeant Mike Jones, must try to use his newly learned skills in the Pashto language of Afghanistan and Pakistan to enlist the aid of local villagers in building a clinic. Here, Sergeant Jones has finally managed to arrange a meeting with a local leader, the Malik. As in all such reasonably formal meetings, this one begins with introductions. I'll ask my aide to recommend what I should say. I'll use a greeting I know. Wa alaikum. Notice that each of the interactant characters in the Malik's party are shown on the side of the screen with a green trust meter. This meter is designed to reflect the current degree of trust or liking that that character has for the trainee. When I spoke, a second window popped up near the Malik. This window shows the degree of imbalance between the etiquette or politeness that the Malik heard in what I said versus what he expected. The fact that the top bar is red and to the left of center means that he interpreted what I said as slightly rude. In fact, wa alaikum is an informal greeting. Note that his trust meter has decreased a bit too. Now the Malik's aide, Abbasin, has made initial introductions. I should say something like, happy to meet you. Khoshalashwem. Uh-oh, I've blown it again. I used an informal phrase that would be roughly translated as pleased. The Malik found this insulting. Note the red minus that appeared briefly over his head, and his trust decreased further. Now the other members of the group have been introduced, and the Malik invites me to sit. I'll say to him, likewise. Seham. This was probably overstepping my authority by inviting him to sit as well, and it further decreased the Malik's trust. He's now asking for the previous American he dealt with, Sergeant Miller. I've soured things pretty thoroughly. The reaction of the Malik to the different utterances the trainee made were computed by an etiquette algorithm we created based, in part, on the sociolinguistic theories of Brown and Levinson. We'll now look at a graphical user interface to the etiquette algorithm itself. This theory says that polite behaviors are used to redress or offset the threats inherent in social interactions. Thus, when more redressive value is perceived than there was threat, the utterance will be seen as increasingly polite, and the summary bar in our etiquette interface will move to the right and turn blue. When less redress is used than there was threat, the utterance will be perceived as increasingly rude, and the summary bar will be red and to the left of center. We can use this interface to explore how an utterance used between any two interactants may be perceived by either of them or by a third-party observer. This interface can be used as a developer's tool, or potentially even as a training aid in the game itself. For example, when the Malik said to me as the trainee, the utterance Salam Alaikum, the Malik, as observer, perceived this as a fairly polite greeting. Note that the algorithm can handle interactions that include gestures and other nonverbal content, such as the hand-over-heart gesture used with Salam Alaikum. It can also take into account different cultural perspectives on the same interaction. When I, as speaker, said to the Malik, the informal greeting response, Wa alaikum, with no hand over heart, the user interface shows us that the Malik perceived this as slightly rude. One of the great strengths of our etiquette algorithm is that it modularizes reasoning and knowledge representation to support complex social interactions. Prior approaches to reasoning about these have tended to be highly scripted, meaning they were both labor-intensive and generally narrow or brittle. Our approach allows us to combine redress elements, such as the hand-over-heart gesture, to rapidly generate a much larger set of possible interactions. Our etiquette algorithm can also be used to recommend utterances based on the level of perceived etiquette that is desired. For example, let's say I want to provide a greeting response to the Malik that he will perceive as being about the same level of politeness as he gave to me, a score of 60. Here, the etiquette algorithm suggests that I respond with wa salam alaykum, with a hand-over-heart gesture. Let's try that, and other polite responses, in another pass through the same scenario in the TLTS game. We'll start the scene from the Malik's greeting. Now I'm expected to provide a greeting in response. I'll use the polite one, with the hand-over-heart gesture, that the etiquette algorithm recommended. Wa alaykum salam. Note the green plus sign that appeared over the Malik's head, the green etiquette bar, and the Malik's rising trust meter, all indicating that the Malik perceived this response as warm and polite, and that he is becoming more favorably disposed towards me. Now it's my turn to recognize the Malik. Again, I'll use a very polite form. Stase deledelo tsecha khoshala shwem, saheb. Note that again we got a green plus sign above the Malik's head and an increase in his trust in response to this warm recognition. Note that by the end of this round of introductions, the Malik's trust bar is solidly green and has moved up throughout our encounter. Best of all, he's now asking how he can help me. By using appropriately polite interaction forms, which the game characters can recognize and adapt to thanks to our etiquette algorithm, I've put myself in a better position to further my goals. Finally, TLTS has been quickly and inexpensively enhanced with a much broader range of plausible interaction paths to increase the breadth and realism of language and culture training.